A WYFF News 4 sports special.
I mean, everything builds to this. I mean, you work all year.
College football is back.
Really a great rivalry.
With renewed rivalries.
To have two teams like this, it's going to be awesome.
Conference shakeups.
So if you're one of the better teams in this conference, you're going to be in the playoff, and we've shown that we have the potential to be that.
And an expanded playoff.
And it's finally here because there's so much that goes into it.
Now, countdown to kickoff.
Oh, it's a brave new world in college football, and change is constant, but the programs you love, the pageantry and passion, uniforms and fight songs, well, those remain the same. Thank you for joining us for Countdown to Kickoff. I'm Mark Whiteman. Julie Morse and Chase Justice will join me momentarily, but we begin with a rivalry renewed. From 1962 to 1995, Clemson and Georgia played 28 times over a 34-year period, but Saturday will mark just their 6th meeting since the turn of the century. 4 of those won by the Dogs. What's more, the 14th ranked Tigers are bidding to become the first team since 1990 to knock off the preseason #1 in week 1.
It's a great opportunity to play the best team in the country right out of the gate, and that's what they are. If anybody don't think they're the best team in the country, then they probably hadn't paid much attention.
If you're waking up with a different energy today than you have been every single day of fall camp, like we've been doing fall camp wrong, because we should have had that mentality all fall camp, and I think we have had that mentality all fall camp.
Sweeney saying of his quarterback, Cade Klubnik, he is confident and needs to do what they have seen in practice, take that to the game. Julia?
Mark, for the 2nd consecutive season, the Georgia Bulldogs are ranked #1 in the AP preseason top 25 poll. But head coach Kirby Smart, the master of coach speak, saying before fall camp that he never pays attention to rankings and his team doesn't talk about them. While he might not want to chat about rankings, Smart talked plenty about Clemson in his first game week press conference of the season Monday. When asked about Tigers quarterback Cade Klubnik, Smart saying he believes Clemson's QB is more comfortable in the offense now with more weapons around him this year. And as a former defensive back, Smart has an eye for defenses, and he believes Clemson's is loaded with talent.
Across the defensive front, Clemson is never going to be short there. They have twitchy, fast, hard-playing guys. The linebacker crew is extremely instinctive and well coached. You can see they carry over from when Brent left. They don't miss things in terms of keys and recognition, and they play really hard on defense.
Smart also had high praise for linebacker Barrett Carter, who's from Georgia. He said Carter has become a dominant player with great instincts. Saturday will mark the 2nd time in the last 4 years the Tigers and Bulldogs are meeting to start their seasons. The last time they met was in Charlotte in 2021. Georgia won that matchup 10-3. Chase?
Yeah, Julia. Well, South Carolina exceeded expectations in each of Shane Beamer's first 2 seasons in Columbia. But after a 5-7 finish and no bowl bid last year, the Gamecocks are eager to get back on track, and they'll turn to a new quarterback to try and do so. Redshirt freshman Lenora Sellers flashed enormous potential in his appearances last season and has pedigree as a former 4-star recruit and state championship winning quarterback. But for all Sellers' talent on the field, it's his approach off the field that just might impress Beamer the most.
He gives you a quiet confidence where the moment's never too big for him. It's the way he handles himself, and a lot of the really good quarterbacks that I've been around. I'm not comparing him to Jalen Hurts, but Jalen at Oklahoma, Jalen was that way. So I think it's a great quality to have, not just in a quarterback, but any leader.
Sellers is part of an overhauled offense that includes 3 transfer receivers and running back Rocket Sanders, who in his last healthy season at Arkansas in 2022 rushed for more than 1,400 yards as a first-team All-SEC standout. South Carolina will open its season up against Old Dominion on Saturday. That game already announced as a sellout. Kickoff is set for 4:15.
Well, our countdown to kickoff special just starting. Still to come, Clemson associate head coach Nick Eason opening up about his physical and mental health journey. Plus, my one-on-one interview with Shane Beamer as he enters year 4 in Columbia. Hopeful this season will be better than last year's 5-win campaign. Well, South Carolina became one of the best stories in college football 2 years ago when Shane Beamer led his team to upset wins over Tennessee and Clemson in the final 2 weeks of the regular season. Last year, Beamer's group couldn't replicate that success, falling 1 win shy of becoming bowl eligible, but he's confident the program will be back on track in 2024. Where do you think your program is at as you enter year 4 here?
I really like where we're at. There's no question we're in a better place on and off the field than what we were in December of 2020 when I got hired. We've made strides in every area. We have more depth. The culture is established. We've got great young men in our program. We're doing great things off the field, academically. We've had 4 of the best 8 semesters in the history of South Carolina football the last couple years. Talent-wise, depth, people, no question that we're better than where we were when I got hired. Last year, record-wise, wasn't what we wanted. We've learned from that. We've made the tweaks and adjustments to be better going forward for that, and really like the group that we have. You know, we have close to 30 players that have been here since 2021. So a third of your team or a fourth of your team has been here going into at least year 4 in this program. So they're very invested. If you have that many guys nowadays, especially with the transfer portal, people leave. When you have that many people that are here for year 4, some of those guys year 5, it's a statement about what this place is about, and that our players do believe in how we do things as well and want to be a part of this program, which to me is a strong statement. And we just continue to try and move this thing forward and get better every single day.
What do you want your legacy to be here when you leave?
Well, hopefully that's a long time from now as well. I'm just trying to figure it out. Practice tomorrow, much less legacies. But I think for me, it's somebody that hopefully won a lot of football games. That will allow me to stay here for a long time. But along the way of winning a lot of football games and championships, someone that just never changed, treated people the right way, had the same gratitude for the position and understanding of what this position entails from the day he got the job until the day he left here. And that, you know, people can say that about my dad. He was the same guy in 1987 when he got hired at Virginia Tech that he was in 2015 when he retired, and then as a Hall of Fame coach. He was the same person, never changed. I would hope that people would say the same thing about me when I leave here as well, that he made this program better. He never changed as a person. He made this community better, because I love this state. I love the city of Columbia and where I live, and I have an obligation to try and make this a better place. And if people say all that about me when my time's done, then I'd say it's been a pretty good run.
Coach Beamer and I chatted for about a half an hour. We also talked about a lot of the special game day traditions at South Carolina, and you can see that conversation during our Chronicle Saturdays in the South, which airs right here on WYFF 4 on September 27th. Mark?
We're looking forward to that as well, Julia. Thank you. The Furman football team has been on a roll the last 2 seasons with a 20-6 record in that span, reaching the FCS quarterfinals last season and winning the outright SoCon championship for the first time since 1990. However, Furman returns just 7 starters from last year's team, so they have plenty of holes to fill at major spots, including at quarterback, where last year's starter Tyler Huff is now at Jacksonville State. Head coach Clay Hendricks has his new starter, but he is keeping that in-house right now ahead of the Paladins opener Saturday against 6th-ranked Ole Miss. And even with some talent gone, Furman still the 9th-ranked team in the FCS coaches preseason poll, and Hendricks says he hopes to see his team maximize its abilities.
I think we've had a really good team. You know, that's what's so unique about our sport, and that's why sometimes a Furman has a chance to go compete with an Ole Miss. Now, there are a lot of things have to go into that, but you know, can we just go be a great team, play together? I think, you know, that culture word gets thrown around a lot. I think the strength of our football team and our program's kind of been our culture and the makeup of our guys.
The Paladins will honor their late teammate with a special Stanfield Strong decal that they will wear on their helmets this fall to honor Bryce Stanfield, a former defensive lineman who passed away earlier this year. Chase?
Well, Mark, out in Spartanburg, the Wofford Terriers expect major improvements in year 2 of the Sean Watson era as the team looks to compete in a loaded Southern Conference. Watson will return a pair of 5th-year seniors on the offensive side of the ball, quarterback Bryce Corriston and running back Ryan Ingram, who led the Terriers with 6 touchdowns in 2023. For a team that started the season 0-9 before closing out the year with back-to-back wins, Coach Watson hopes that late season momentum will roll over to 2024.
With all the adversity we went through last year, it really proved that, this team really believes in each other, believe in us, we believe in them. So there's a belief factor that's going real strong. And, basically now it's the process of making us better. We have to build on what we've done or it means nothing.
Wofford will be the first of our area teams to get the season started tomorrow night on the road against Gardner-Webb. The Presbyterian Blue Hose are coming off a 4-win season, including a last-second thriller over the Wofford Terriers. That was part of their most successful campaign since 2017.
And they've been through a lot. They've persevered a lot. So I don't think that when we get into the year, if you have some bad times, which you always do, there's peaks and valleys, I don't think it'll phase them because we've been through, the rough times, and I think they'll battle.
As Coach E says, great teams are led by the players, and we're trying to be the older guys are trying to be leaders and lead the guys and, be successful.
PC opens on the road at Mercer tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Mark?
So to come on Countdown to Kickoff, Clemson assistant Nick Eason is a magnetic personality with
7 p.m. Mark?
So to come on Countdown to Kickoff, Clemson assistant Nick Eason is a magnetic personality with plenty to be thankful for and plenty he has overcome.
Coach Sweeney has a saying, as best is the standard, and I was not at my best. And so I wanted to be an example for my players.
The Tigers associate head coach on his constant journey to be the best version of himself. Stay with us. You're watching Countdown to Kickoff. You wouldn't know it to look at him, his towering presence and megawatt smile, but Nick Eason has endured enormous hurt. I sat down with Clemson's associate head coach as he opened up about loss and embracing Dabo Swinney's motto, best is the standard.
Meet me where they at, I will meet you where you at. I want people to see the Paul as much as possible.
Nick Eason is always moving.
My coach right here, that's my coach.
When he came out there with the cleats, we were like, yeah, you're probably going to do like 2 drills. But he went through every single one with us. He not only talks the talk, but he walks the walk. Like, he set the example and showed us how to do it.
They're like my sons to me. They know that I love them. I tell them that every day.
The father of 7 has always valued family, back to his early years in Southeast Georgia. And family gatherings often meant food.
Grandmother made biscuits, and, I ate everything on the hog except for the sound that it made. I've had it all. A lot of wholesome food, a lot of carbs, a lot of sodium. That's kind of was my go-to when I wasn't feeling good about something.
A 2-time team captain at Clemson and an 11-year NFL career eventually led Eason to coaching, returning to his alma mater in 2022.
And to watch my players run down the hill, the same hill that I ran down, I got the best job in the world. I wear a smile all the time, but a lot of, times that there's been a lot of pain behind my smile.
In 2012, while Eason was in the final year of his NFL career, he lost his mother, Iris Wilcox, at just 50 years old, following a lengthy battle with breast cancer.
So, man, it was a tough time. Just really young, 50 years old, and I was at a funeral one day, and the next day morning, I'm on the porch with my grandmother, and she said, Nick, it was just her time. And then that evening, I had to catch a flight, go back. I'm back in practice. And at the time, I just never really grieved or dealt with that.
9 years later, Betty Holland, his grandmother, his rock, died in 2021. Depressed, he found comfort in comfort foods. By the time Eason was hired at Clemson the following January, he was nearly 400 pounds.
I was consuming probably anywhere between 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day, bad calories, on top of not working out at all. It was tough, man. I just really felt alone. Coach Sweeney has a saying, as best is the standard, and I was not at my best. And so I wanted to be an example for my players.
Good, there you go. Hey, Eason went to a plant-based vegan diet and focused on fitness.
I just started feeding my focus. It's my family, my faith with God, the things that I put in my body.
He said, y'all got to stay on my butt, and I'm going to stay on y'all butt. And, we did. We held them accountable. And just knowing that somebody's so committed to bettering themselves, I know they're committed to bettering, me and my teammates.
He's lost more than 100 pounds since.
There's a lot of people that are struggling, that are in the closet struggling right now, and my message to them, like, you can make it. You just need a moment, and you know, don't be afraid to ask for help.
The 44-year-old is taking his own advice.
Just trying to just be the best version of myself, man, and be a light for the world, and just help people win.
And always moving forward.
Life is still not perfect. There's still trials and tribulations. It's just about how you get through them, how you handle it. It's all about how you handle it.
Eason, far from perfect, told me he hasn't always felt like the best father in a career that demands so much, but thankful to be part of a program under Dabo Swinney that's allowed him to foster better relationships with his family. Julia?
What an inspiration and a fantastic, fantastic story. Well, up until 2 years ago, the Limestone Saints had never had a winning season. Then Mike Furry returned to Gaffney, and everything changed. After back-to-back 8-4 campaigns with 2 division titles and a pair of D2 playoff berths, Furry left this offseason to coach wide receivers at South Carolina. Furry's former assistant, Jericho Cotchery, stepping into the top job, and just like his old boss, he's also a former NFL receiver. With the program's career passing leader, Dustin Noller, returning at quarterback, and most of Furry's staff retained, Cotchery has his program aiming for even loftier heights.
We haven't won a conference, outright. We hadn't played in the SAC championship game and won that, and we hadn't won a playoff game, so we are very much aware of that, so we know what we're working towards.
This has always been my dream, was to win and get Limestone to a championship. So this year is kind of what the goal. Let's go get a ring this year. Let's go get 2 rings this year.
Limestone opens the season with 3 straight road games starting tomorrow night at West Liberty. A new team hoping to light up the Electric City this fall. The Anderson University Trojans set to kick off their inaugural season, competing in the Division II South Atlantic Conference. Head coach Bobby Lamb, a former Furman football player, has more than 90 underclassmen on his roster and just a handful of players with college experience. But this isn't Lamb's first time building a program from the ground up. He also led Mercer to a 10-win campaign in its first season back in 2013, and he hopes to duplicate that success with the Trojans.
I've been working 3 years now to build the program. Me and my staff, the administration, everybody involved with Anderson University has really stepped up and really are excited about where we're going, the direction we're going. On September 7th, it's all coming to fruition.
Former Presbyterian quarterback Tyler Wesley now at Anderson, transferring to AU after leading the Blue Hose in both rushing and passing yards a season ago. The Trojans open their season at home against St. Andrews on Saturday, September 7th at 1 p.m. Chase?
Well, Julia, North Greenville is starting a new era this season. No longer the Crusaders, they're now going by the Trailblazers, the program's new mascot that was adopted earlier this summer. But the more things change, the more they stay the same. Head coach Jeff Farrington is back for his 12th season, and starting quarterback Dylan Ramirez also returns after the Broome High School product started all 10 games for NGU in 2023. Farrington hasn't had a winning season in Tigerville since 2016, but his team is hoping to build on what they did at the end of last season, closing out the year with back-to-back wins.
That just gives you a little umph and a little excitement to know that you've come away with your last couple wins moving into the off season.
Finishing off on a season, you always want to finish off with wins, and obviously when you go into a new season, you want to start off with wins. So just having that same mentality at the end of the season, but building off of that mentality, that's a big deal for all of us, that we got those 2 wins at the end, and we can just build on that.
North Greenville opens its season at home Thursday, September 5th against Kaiser University.
Well, we still have 3 more Palmetto State programs to preview, and Ball at the Beach is entering its new quarterback era. More on Coastal Carolina's quarterback battle to see who will replace Grayson McCall coming up.
For the first time in 23 years, there is a new head coach in Orangeburg leading the South Carolina State Bulldogs following Buddy Pugh's retirement. In steps Chennis Berry, who led the Benedict College Tigers to back-to-back SEAC titles and a 27-7 record in 3 seasons. Berry has great reverence for his new program, and after building a powerhouse at Benedict, he is ready to do the same with the Bulldogs.
I've been a part of HBCU for a long time as a player and a coach, and South Carolina State has always been one of those programs that you look at as one of the top in all of HBCU. So, to get the opportunity to lead this program, you couldn't pass up on that chance.
The Bulldogs open their season Saturday night at 6 in Tallahassee at Florida A&M. Julia?
Mark, the Coastal Carolina football team is entering a new era this season with the team set to have a new starting quarterback for the first time in 5 years. Grayson McCall, arguably the best quarterback in program history, transferred to NC State last December for his final collegiate season. CCU has yet to name McCall's replacement, with head coach Tim Beck saying this week he has made a decision about who will be the Schotten's starting quarterback, but he won't announce it until tomorrow when Coastal kicks off its season against Jacksonville State.
To be quite honest, it's an advantage for us. So why would I let Jacksonville State know that? Right? Here's what I'll tell people that want to know who the starter is. Game's at 8 o'clock on CBS SN, or it's in Jacksonville, Alabama.
Sophomore Ethan Vasco, one guy competing for the job. He went 3-1 as a starter last year and led the Schotts to a win in the Hawaii Bowl, just their second bowl win in program history. Michigan State transfer Noah Kim, the other option to replace McCall. Chase?
In due west, the Erskine Flying Fleet have taken time to get off the ground, still seeking their first winning season since the program was reinstated in 2020 following a 70-year hiatus from the football field. The team went 0-11 last year, but head coach Shap Boyd says his program is in a much better place in 2024, especially on offense, saying his O-line actually looks like college football players now. Terry Anton is the team's new offensive coordinator, but he's familiar with the program, having previously served as the offensive line coach. Boyd acknowledging he's moving away from some things he's done in the past, and he believes the program is evolving.
There's some startup programs, and they got everything. We're not that. You know, we're one of those guys that's got to work pretty much for everything, and I'm okay with that. And the kids that chose to be here are okay with that too. So I just think we're resilient. I think it's kind of a we can do this attitude, and I think we're kind of progressing.
I'll be happy with a win, multiple wins, but just getting this program in a better place than what it was when I was here.
Two of Erskine's first 5 opponents are top 20 teams, with Boyd saying his players have to make sure they don't flinch and the winning will take care of itself. Erskine plays St. Andrews on August 31st.
College football is finally here. Thank you for joining us for Countdown to Kickoff. For Julia Morris and Chase Justice, I'm Mark Whiteman. Have a wonderful night.